Hi everyone. In this video, I'll be focusing on where exactly should I start my company. Should I focus on Indian registration? Should I focus on US? Should I focus on Europe? Etc. All this completely depends on your market. Which market are you going to address? Is it India predominantly or US? Based on that, you have to take action. But if you asked me 20 years ago, I would have point blank told, yeah, you should register in US market because there's access of funds, the ecosystem, etc. etc. But now, in last 20 years, Indian investment ecosystem and as well as the startup ecosystem has massively grown, almost equivalent to Silicon Valley. For example, Bangalore startup ecosystem is very well grown and matured and support each other in a great length and breadth. However, when it comes to designing or defining your market, it all depends on your product and your solution. And therefore, you have to understand if you are registering in US market and your target market is India, you have to give a second thought again. Because access to funds is equally same in India also. However, investment behavior characteristics differ from India, US and Europe. And given in this scenario, decide where to start depends on the market and the solution that you are providing to a certain audience. If your targeted audience or a market resides in India, better register in Indian market. But if you have plans to expand outside India and your initial test market is India, then you can always register outside India, likes of US or Europe, based on your expansion. If your B2C, your target market is India, better to register in India under Indian law. If it is B2B and your target market is US, it's good to start in US. But let me caution you, cost of operating a startup in US is 2 times or 3 times of cost of operating in India. And also, the administrative process in India is far more easier compared to US in sense of starting, engaging in CA, engaging a company secretary. It's far more cheaper compared to the US market. I would say economical, not cheap. Because you get the same quality of support, you get them to all the administrative work with economical cost, which is very much needed in the early stage of the startup. Now the question comes, okay, let me register under Indian law, but tomorrow my market is US. How will I move from India to US? Yes, that's an important question you should discuss with your CA and company secretaries before taking a call. Because once you have a startup, either you should register an US company and acquire back the Indian company, make it as a subsidiary. This is like a reverse query position. Like you have an Indian company and you open a US company and register and acquire an Indian company to make it as a single company. But that's not so easy because you have to acquire the market value, your own company from US. So therefore, you have to understand very clearly where should I register my company and how would I, make sure my Indian company is also aligned with my US company. So come back to this point. Let me first give you an example. I have an Indian company registered under Indian laws and now I want to go to a US market and operate in US. Right? So when you have this kind of scenario, either you have a subsidiary in US and operate in US market. Now why do I need to have an HQ in US? If at all I'm completely focusing on US market and I need all the funds, everything from US market to operate for the US market only, right? My US market is main and my Indian market, my Indian operations are like outsourced, right? It's a subsidiary where I have resources to develop product, support for US customers, etc. etc. Now, in that scenario, again, the cost of performing this operation where you want to acquire your own company in India and make your US company as headquarters, you have to go through a very rigorous process. Again, that is supported by CAs or company secretaries in India as well as US. Now, in order to do all of this, there's a lot of time, energy, and cost is needed. Now, because I'm talking about an early stage startup, I will not recommend you do all of this. Either you start in India or in US, take a good call about it. If you ask me, you're operating for a US market and you're in India, you have to develop it as an Indian subsidiary and have your US as your headquarters. But remember, you are not eligible for any government grants, any kind of support from the governments, because you're not a registered company under Indian laws. You're a subsidiary of a US company registered under US laws. So take a look of this in detail. Don't just be in a hurry to start register a company outside India without knowing all of this. So I would recommend you to talk to your company secretary and CAs and other founders who have done this kind of activity. Know the process and procedures. The classic case was like Freshworks, now the Freshdesk. They are registered in US and moved their company to, registered in India and moved their company to US. How did they do it? What are the process? But they did when they really became big, right? They had a lot of funds. They knew how to, bring it up, how to have certain people in the team to focus on this. So understand all these nitty-gritties and take a right call. To summarize, if your market is India, don't think anything otherwise, just register in Indian market. If your market is India initially, US, you should talk with your CA, thorough discussion, understand the cost that can occur when you want to shift your Indian operations to US and make the US as your headquarters and make India a subsidiary. There is a lot of cost involved. The most important thing is your US headquarters should acquire an Indian company, right? It's the other way around. So you ask to acquire an Indian company, make it as a subsidiary of US company. So this involves a lot of cost, process, legalities, administration cost, etc. Okay, but if your market is from day one US, then just operate out of US. But remember, cost of when I say operate out of US, registering in US, it may be Delaware or California, wherever you want to. And remember, there is a lot of cost involved in it. Be ready for it. From day one, filing the taxes, opening the company. There's always a cost involved in it. So ensure you are under that, right? And don't need to think about opening a company in India, but you will just open a subsidiary in Indian market for supporting your business in US. Thank you.